Hello and welcome back to another video from the Spanish Conversation for Beginners series. I'm Tony Marsh and this lesson is called Verbs Are Seeds. This is a very important point in terms of this conversation strategy and the language building, language learning strategy that is a component of this course as well as just the Spanish language itself. Verbs are seeds. Let me show you what I mean. Let's start with the past, present, and the future timeline. And I find it's useful to think of verbs as existing in the past, present, or future, like on a timeline, because we already think of time as going from left to right, like on a timeline. So why not just organize the verbs that way in your mind? And I do so on the page. In the present tense, if you start with a verb, which is like a seed, it's like a seed because you like plant it in the ground, and it grows into a conversation tree. For example, you could say, I speak Spanish, which is hablo español. If you don't speak Spanish, you could say, no hablo español. If you speak another language like English, you could say, hablo inglés. If you speak French, you could say, hablo francés. Do you see the branches that are starting to grow out of the tree, out of the seed? No hablo español. No hablo inglés. No hablo francés, for example. See what I'm saying? If you study such and such language, you could say estudio, means I study. And you'll see that what these two words both have in common is they both end in O. Okay? Just want to point that out. I study Spanish as estudio español. I study English as estudio inglés. I study French as estudio francés. I don't study Spanish. No estudio español. I don't study English. No estudio inglés. Whatever it was. No estudio francés. Okay? If you take hablo, change the O that we had in red to A. Kind of like how you say café. Say hablé. That's I spoke. That's the past tense. Okay, so now you could say I spoke Spanish, would be hablé español. I spoke English would be hablé inglés. What language did you speak today? Or languages? Hablé español, hablé inglés. Did you speak French? No? Then it would be no hablé francés. So you can grab that no again. No, it's like we're building a palette, like artist palette with the paint, the supplies, and then we can take that and draw on the canvas, and the canvas is the conversation. No hablé español, no hablé inglés, no hablé francés. Therefore, hablo is to hablé as estudio is to estudié, which you should be able to see just as an analogy, okay? So this is the patterns of the language revealing themselves to you, rather than taking this making a big deal out of it, and it's just let the patterns of the language reveal themselves to you. That's the way it happens with children. No one teaches children, okay, this is the past tense now. So the patterns reveal themselves to you. It's a natural way. I studied, what did you do today? What did you study? Oh, estudié español, estudié inglés, estudié francés. No estudié español, no estudié inglés, no estudié francés. If you can do this, then you'll be ready for some next lessons that are going to have even more variations on a similar thing, but it's effortless. It's always effortless. You just choose, you just mix and match building blocks. Voy a hablar. You might hear kind of a B sound with voy a hablar. The V could sound like just like a B. Voy a hablar is literally I'm going to speak. That's the feature, I'm going to speak. So I'm going to study would be voy a estudiar, right? So what are you going to do today? What languages are you going to? Oh, voy a hablar español, voy a hablar inglés, no voy a hablar francés. I'm going to study, voy a estudiar español, voy a estudiar inglés, voy a estudiar francés. Okay? Continuing with this pattern, if I tell you that to say I drink is tomo, then you could start building café, which is coffee, right? Té is tea. Cerveza, as you might know, is beer. Tell me what you drink, what you don't drink. And how would you say I drank and I'm going to drink? That could be a practice exercise for you. Trabajé means I worked. today is hoy. Today means hoy. So I worked today. Earlier today, let's pretend. Trabajé. So I worked today. Trabajé hoy. What about I spoke Spanish today? Hablé español hoy. I studied English today. Estudié inglés. Or I drank coffee today. Whatever that is. Café hoy, right? Trabajé. How do you say I work? How do you say I'm going to work? And finally, there's more, but just for fun. Voy a viajar means I'm going to travel. And if you say I'm going to travel to Mexico, you'd say voy a viajar a Mexico. Or a España, Spain, or wherever, right? And given that it's voy a viajar, then how do you say I travel? And how do you say I traveled to such and such place? Okay, that's the idea of verbs being seeds. It's going to be very helpful, again, in further lessons as we begin to build the structure of the language and build the conversation of the language. The way to build conversation is through structure, and a lot of times we learn the structure through the conversation. So there's that back and forth play. I would recommend taking a notebook and practicing writing. There's more combinations on the screen than we necessarily spoke. So it's up to you to start to just see the combinations, fill in the blanks as your homework, tarea, and just most importantly, see what you can do with these pieces. Because the idea, again, is to take the pieces and basically create conversation by mixing and matching. So have fun, be creative. This is a creative process, as you can see. And stay tuned for the next video.